the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me.
There is nothing more exciting to a family than to have a newborn baby and to watch a child mature and grow into adulthood. And there's nothing more tragic and devastating than to have that loved one take their own life. Today's program is the story of such a family. Maybe you have had such a tragedy in your family or know of someone in your church who has. So today, we ask that you avoid judgment and condemnation. We just ask you to listen to a father's love. Hello, I'm Brent Carlson. Welcome to Brethren Voices. There are some subjects that we humans have a difficult time talking about with others. We have trouble discussing sex. Talking about death is another thing which is troubling. Especially difficult is talking to someone who is dealing with a life-threatening illness or a person who has suffered the loss of a family member, relative, or close friend. And suicide is another difficult matter, especially when the person is a family member. Today we are hearing about much concern over the alarming rates of suicide among various groups in our society. The suicide rates among the members of the military who have returned home following tours of duty overseas are described as staggering. The numbers who have taken their own lives rivals the actual number of military personnel killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. In the United States, suicide rates are rising. Young people are more at risk than any other age group. And gay young men are much more likely to take their own lives or attempt suicide than other adolescents. Recently, Brethren Voices met with Terry Green, who describes himself as a transplanted Hoosier, now living in Morgantown, West Virginia. He's a long-term member of the United Church of Christ of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and now also is an associate member of the Morgantown Church of the Brethren. Terry came to us and wanted to share a personal story, as he felt there were many other families who possibly had had similar experiences. He felt that it was a story that needed to be shared, and we agreed. Our effort to share this story with you is not for the purpose of finding fault or to explain the reasons why individuals take their own lives. It is hoped that we might just be able to listen when other people are hurting and to support them as they deal with one of the confusing and painful mysteries of life. We also want to acknowledge the courage and commitment of Terry Green, for this is his story, a father's story about his family, his life, and the life of his son. Terry shared with us about some of the family history and also about his son, Tom.
My wife and I, my first wife, we were not able to have children, and we adopted 2 kids. And Tom, my son, was 3 months old when he came into our house, and our daughter was 8 days old. And so we've had a blessing of 2 children in our lives. My son is gay, or was gay, because a year ago in May, he took his own life. And so it was many things I want to say are about a parent's love and how you struggle with them, and their hurts are your hurts. And there isn't anything in my being that condemn him at all. I don't believe that homosexuality is a choice. I would not choose to become a leper. And I'm sure Tom didn't. When he told, in fact, at one point in his life, he was engaged to a church member's daughter. And we were looking forward to this marriage. It got so close, but Tom had to tell her that it would not be fair to her because he was gay. And that's how he felt. He loved her, but he did not feel that he had the right to subject her to so much uncertainty. And one of the other times that I remember that touched both Carol and I was when Tom told us he was gay. And it was so painful for him that he actually just collapsed in front of us.
Tom was a typical kid who loved having fun. Water skiing, boating, matchbox cars, Legos, playing in the swings and in the sandbox. As he matured, he enjoyed swimming and tennis, and performing in drama, dancing, and singing groups. He even played Jesus in Godspell. He was baptized as an infant on October 9th, 1966, and later was confirmed at the age of 15 on May 31st, 1981. And then when Tom was 18, he told his parents that he was gay. We asked Terry if they suspected their son might be gay before he told them.
Well, we had kind of imagined he might be because he never had a steady girl in high school exactly, but he had female friends. And he could attract people, and in a good way. He could see others' pain, and it kind of drew him to people who were on the fringes.
Terry always appreciated his son's Christian values and sensitivity to others despite the challenges that he experienced in his life with employment and changing career choices.
And he had a founding in a church, and he had the values of a family that he carried with him. But we did, we suffered when we saw one relation fail or that something in his life wasn't going right. He was diagnosed as manic depressive. There's a new term for it, can't remember it. But when he was down, he would spend money. When he was up, nothing could defeat him. But he would go into work relationships, and he spent most of his career in restaurant business. And he'd get so close to success, and something would happen. And he would either relocate or find another position with another company. What happened in 2008, I think, would have been the fact that he had told me, "Dad, I'm burned out of the restaurant business." And he found a job selling health insurance on commission in a totally different field. He was given leads, but that was about it, and training. But I think toward the end of his life, he couldn't make it financially. And I believe that he thought the only way to end this pain was the route that he took. One thing I've learned about the condition that Tom had is that there's a little part of the brain back here that permits you to foresee other alternatives. That part of his brain was not working well. And so he could not say, well, I've got this choice, that, or that. And he had even, my good friend of mine that I met two brothers that had the cottage next to ours on a lake in Indiana. The young man, the younger of the two of the older son, took his life at age 25. He was in banking. He had just been promoted. He was going to be married. And he took his own life. And Tom told me, "Oh, Dad, I could never do that." Well, we don't know. But I truly believe that God creates us in all different kind of ways.
Terry credits the support that he received from the welcoming and affirming church in Indiana, as well as the support of the members of the Church of the Brethren.
We have had a history in our church of welcoming gay people into our congregation. We've had two associate pastors who were gay. And so it was not something new. The church about probably 1996 went into a 2-year process of discerning whether to be officially registered as an open and affirming church through the United Church of Christ. That decision was made to do that. We lost church members. But I go back now, when I go back to Fort Wayne to visit my daughter, and I go to that congregation, and I see a smaller congregation, but a lively congregation. One that is filled with all kinds of people. But we're all worshiping and believe in the goodness that Jesus Christ presented to us. And our church in Morgantown, we are also not closed off.
After coming out to his parents, Tom sometimes talked to his father intimately about the difficulties of being gay.
We had a conversation with him one time, later on after we knew, and he said, "Dad, I had the hardest time in gym class because I knew I had to take a shower. And what I saw was sexually stimulating to me." And he fought this. And it was a struggle for him.
As Tom was growing up, there was one embarrassing incident that the father and Tom didn't talk about until much, much later.
My brother and his wife and their two sons, who were both adopted, we would share the lake cottage quite a few times in the summer. And one weekend, I went down to the basement for something, and that's where some of the kids were bunked down. And I saw Tom skitter across from one end to the other and hop into his bed while his cousin, is that right? No, cousin, they had been in the same bed together. I blanked that out. I didn't want to believe what I saw. And I never said anything. And I don't know what I would have done had I said something. Because here were two boys that I really cared for. And how do you tell a brother that, "Gee, this is what I saw"? Later on, we learned that there had been some abuse that occurred. And later on, Tom confronted this other man. And they came to an understanding. And he admitted what he had done. And Tom forgave him. And so there was a history of of struggle in Tom's life. And I often think about the son who was lost and returned. And Tom came back to us. He was, and I felt that joy that that father must have felt back in the Old Testament.
Tom was dealing with a number of issues in his life, including mood swings and ongoing employment problems. And whether we realize it or not, Tom, like many other youth, struggled with his own sexuality privately.
You know, my history, I've known as many gay pastors as I've known straight. And I've known a lot of gay people. And I have yet to see a predator. They're no different. I've seen loving relationships. There are 2 or 3. I always thought, Tom, I wish you could find somebody like this and this. Because I saw what committed relationships, both male and female. And to say that these people are sinners, I can't do that. And I feel that we as a denomination lose something if we can't open our doors to all.
There are many people who have received a heart-wrenching phone call from the police. Terry struggled to tell us about what happened when he got a fate-filled call at 7 a.m. in May 2009.
I think one of the saddest times of my life, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I get a call. I'm chaplain so-and-so with the Indianapolis Police Department. Are you the father of Thomas R. Green? And they couldn't locate Carol. And I had to call Carol and tell her. And I have never heard such a cry of agony in my life. And at Tom's memorial service, I learned more about my son than I ever knew, as far as the people that he reached out to one of his, Carol's sister's husbands. They lived in Indianapolis, and she has MS. He has a bad hip. He would go over there and help care for her on his own. I didn't know that until I heard it from them. He was in, as a barber, part of his career before he went into the restaurant. And 2 or 3 people came through the line where he had cut their hair, and the woman was overweight and was in some kind of a situation when she went and got her hair cut by him, quite by accident. And they developed a friendship that lasted clear to time she and her husband came through that line. And she told how Tom had reached out at a time, and he could perceive that. He loved dogs. And he had 2 dogs that he took to 2 gay friends, or a lesbian couple, and said, I'm leaving town for a few days. Could you care for the dogs? And so he provided for those dogs. And he was a return nester. He came with his dog, a beagle, Daiquiri. How he got that name, I don't know. But when he left the house, the dog stayed. And that dog, when I went through, my wife told me that she was leaving. And that dog became my companion and helped me through that.
Terry's family has gone through other changes as well.
My wife is an ordained pastor. She's in a loving, committed relationship with another female who has her doctors in divinity. And the four of us get together. And it's an amazing kind of world we live in. That two people who spent 33 and a half years together can still find safety with one another. And we can incorporate Sue, my new partner, and her partner, and it's a strange world. But I think one worth fighting for.
Despite the actions of the Church of the Brethren Annual Conference, there are congregations who have dealt with issues of homosexuality in different ways. Terry shared with us about his church and how the congregation became an open and affirming congregation.
Part of the discernment policy, or process that Plymouth went through, was to invite two couples from Indianapolis from an open and affirming church. One was a straight couple, the other were a gay partners. And they told us how their church struggled, how it came together so that all those views could be accepted. And you could work past that pettiness of, well, whatever you want to call it. And we had another couple in our church. The daughter was gay or lesbian and the mother was straight. And they became part of a Sunday service. And this happened in front of the congregation where they openly said, this is who we are. I think maybe that kind of honest confrontation broke down into an understanding and acceptance that people could live with, because that congregation today is still vibrant. And I think it could be so in our churches. And I guess just have the guts to say we're here to listen and work from there. We had a little conservative church where Carol served for 3 years as an associate pastor. The man that she replaced was gay, and they never knew it. You know? And it was a conservative little farming community. You know? She was also the first female pastor they'd had. And it was amazing to see how that church came to accept her as a part of the leadership of that church.
A year and a half had gone by since Tom's death, so we asked Terry if there are things which give him hope.
I think I have a lot of cynicism, and I'm a cynic on a lot of things, but I see some young people coming up that are just full of energy and full of delight and full of talent and full of things, their lives they can give if they're given the chance. And it's like here at this Song and Story Fest, little kiddies and the high school age and so forth. I'll tell you, they tell you how it is. And if old goats like me can learn from them. Wow. It's funny because I think back to my own adolescence and so forth. I was scared to death of women, of girls. I hated to call them on the phone. I mean, and now girls call boys. I mean, hey, how good is that? I don't know. I don't think we're done yet with making this world a better place.
And now here's something which many brethren are thankful for, which has given hope to many people around this world. A message from Heifer International.
I used to have a goat. Where did it go? It went to a family who really needed it. You see, giving a family an animal is like giving them a business. The wool, milk, eggs all turn into income for medicine, school, clothing, a better home, a sustainable livelihood. Soon the family is passing on the gift of the animal's offspring to another family who does the same and on until the whole community is lifted out of poverty. That is where my goat went, and that's why you give to Heifer International.
This edition of Brethren Voices has featured the intimate sharing of Terry Green, member of the Morgantown, West Virginia Church of the Brethren. We hope you will find ways to reach out to others with love and understanding, especially people who are dealing with difficult times in their lives. To paraphrase Kirby Lauderdale, pastor of the Portland Peace Church, there are many things in our existence, starting with our birth, about which we have no choice. The experience of living, about which we have limited knowledge, adds to this mystery as well. Life is a mystery. This is Brent Carlson, wishing you peace.
All those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod shall be called the friends of God. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin